Hello, welcome back to the channel. I'm back from my hiatus, back from my trip. I'm finally home, and it's time to really get this channel up and running. As of now, I will be uploading reviews consistently, at least bi-weekly, and I'll be implementing my new rating system as well, so look out for that. I decided not to do a list like some other reviewers. I'm just going to be shouting out, thus the name of this video, my favorite releases of the year so far. And at the end of the year, I'll do an official top 10 list, my top 10 favorite albums of the year. And it'll make more sense when you see my new rating system. For now, let's get right into it. My favorite albums of the year so far, through 6 months, through the start of 2018. What year is it? 2018. Let's go. I'll start off with hip-hop and kind of go through these in genre groups that I listen to. First album I'm going to talk about is Veteran by JPEGMAFIA. This is the first release I've ever heard by Mr. JPEGMAFIA, and I was completely blown away. He has this really aggressive style, and he backs it up with these crazy beats that you will have never heard anything like before. Random things like water dripping, even using a sample from the late great Old Dirty Bastard, which is incredibly entertaining. If you're looking for one of the most creative and entertaining hip-hop releases this year, this is definitely the album you should look to, and I highly recommend it. It's probably one of my favorite hip-hop records of 2018. Now we move on to Apathy's The Widow's Son. Connecticut rapper Apathy is back with a new album in 2018. He's one of my favorite lyricists, fantastic rapper, and he comes through with another solid album, just a litany of songs that'll make you nod your head, and it's just an incredibly entertaining project all the way through. Check it out. Next up, we have MF Doom teaming up with Czarface, two of my favorite rappers slash groups, and wow, this album is fantastic. It's called Czarface meets Metalface. The beats on this thing are gorgeous. MF Doom and Czarface battle each other out like supervillains on this thing. Verse after verse, just crazy good, going toe-to-toe against each other, and it is pure entertainment. Their styles complement each other perfectly here. I had even fantasized about them teaming up before this album was even a possibility. Do not miss this release. If you haven't heard it, go listen to it right now. Next up, I'm going to talk about a trio of Kanye-produced albums, fully Kanye-produced albums. That would be Daytona by Pusha T, Kids See Ghosts, self-titled Kanye West and Kid Cudi album, and Kanye West's own album, Ye. I was not as big of a fan of Nas's Nasir, produced by Kanye West, or Tiana Taylor's new album. The production side is great, but other things I found on the albums I didn't like too much. You guys have to let me know what you thought of those in the comments too. But these were some of my favorite albums of the summer, some of my favorite albums of the year, these three. Pusha T brought everything for his album. Kanye West backed him up with some of the most beautiful production I've ever heard by Kanye West, and it matches Pusha T's style is absolutely perfect. Then Kanye West came together with Kid Cudi. They made a full album. And not only did Kid Cudi put together a performance where I actually enjoyed his music, he actually took kind of the center stage on this album. But man, Kanye West's production, again, just elevates the work so high. Really utilizes Kid Cudi's vocals in the perfect ways. From the topics they tackled together about mental health to just the blissful, crazy psychedelic sounds that you'll be hearing on here that just make you so appreciative of this music. It is a no miss for sure. That leaves me to talk about Kanye West's own album, Ye. I'm seeing a real split in the community as to who likes it and who doesn't. It's really probably close to 50-50, but I personally really enjoyed it. It redeemed him in some aspects for me. His music always seems to come through when he says something controversial, but I enjoy almost every song on this album. His production is just as good as it's always been, maybe even better. This is a very different album than he's ever made, that's for sure, but I definitely enjoyed it. Let me know what you guys think of it, because clearly there's a discrepancy. But these three Kanye West produced albums are some of my favorite albums of the year and the summer. So do not miss them. Pusha T's album is just amazing, just blows you away. Probably in my top two hip hop albums I've heard this year by far, but all of them are great. Take a listen. Now we're moving to kind of the alternative rock side of my listening this year. We're going to start right off with probably my favorite alternative rock release this year. That's going to be The Screaming Females All at Once. This album is just absolutely beautiful. Marissa Paternoster's vocals just pepper this thing with so much passion. And this album is catchy as hell. Like, throughout the entire thing, there's no lull, just catchy song after catchy song, banger after banger. It's just incredible. And I'd love to hear what you guys think of it. It's probably my favorite alternative album this year. But rest assured, that does not mean that we won't talk about the other ones. I'm going to go to the next one on my list, and that would be Jack White's new album, Boarding House Reach. Very solid album from Jack White. He kind of dabbles on the more creative side. He's always been a creative artist, but he goes pretty hard on this one. There's going to be some songs that rub some of his fans the wrong way from the White Stripes years, from some of his other solo material that's kind of more center, but he goes just everywhere with this thing, throws all of his cards on the table, and I think it largely works out for him. There's some songs that don't exactly hit for me, but the majority of the project is pretty great. Some great jams. Oh, it's so good. But like I said, there's kind of a discrepancy with the fans as well. But for me, it's a like. I think you guys should check it out. Next up is Time and Space by Turnstile. This is their second project. It's only 25 minutes long, but it's 13 tracks. So super short album. And it's just energy all the way through. Brendan Yates' yelping, screeching vocals across this thing are just infectious. And it just hits you hard for 25 minutes and then goes away. It's awesome. I haven't found myself returning to it as much as some of the other albums I have on here, but it's a great jam. Check it out if you're into hardcore, kind of rock stuff. It's kind of between genres. It's listed as rock here, but so that's what I'm going to call it. But definitely check it out. It's worth. Next we have The Garden's new album, Mirror Might Steal Your Charm. The Shears brothers are back, and they bring a punch on this one. If you're looking for experimental rock releases this year that you can turn your head to, this is definitely one of them. It is one of the most unique listening experiences I've had the entire year. It is just crazy 12 songs all the way through. You're going to be like, what the fuck is this? And a lot of times you're just going to be banging your head because it's amazing. The lyrics are quirky and weird and cool, but it is by far one of the coolest albums I've ever heard this year. It's probably one of my favorite rock releases of this year. Definitely check it out. Next up is another experimental rock album I heard this year, an album called Dirt by a group called Yamantaka Sonic Titan. Now, this is the first album I've heard by this group. Apparently, they've been around since 2009. They make experimental rock music, but with a whole bunch of different influences. They're Japanese-Canadian, so they were formed in Montreal. They use aspects of heavy metal, even J-pop, just crazy stuff. It sounds like nothing else I've heard, and I'm definitely excited for their next album after hearing this one, this being my first. And I implore you to check it out because you're gonna flip when you hear it. So many catchy riffs, great vocals, just everything you could want in an experimental rock album. And it's right up there with The Garden in terms of weirdness factor, but definitely one of my favorite rock releases of this year. Next up we have Father John Misty's God's Favorite Customer. Father John Misty's last album, Pure Comedy, was one of my favorite albums of 2017, and I was hoping he would continue his streak of good albums and his songwriting and whatnot, and largely he does. I don't like it as much as Pure Comedy, but it's a different beast than Pure Comedy, and so I take it for what it is, and I think when you do that, it's another great project by Father John Misty. The introspective lyrics are there. He, again, has some really depressing moments here, kind of like on Pure Comedy. A lot of piano ballads, but he switches it up a lot here. He does something different. I think we should really congratulate him for that, and I think if you're a fan of alternative music or kind of lo-fi stuff, I think you're really going to like this. And finally, for our kind of alternative rock indie section of this video, we're going to talk about the Arctic Monkeys' return to music with their new album, Tranquility-based Casino and Hotel. This is another album that's very split in the fan base of how people like it, but I enjoyed it all the way through. I think it's something completely different from anything they've ever done. You aren't going to find very many jams on this album. They're definitely dabbling with a huge creative influence, and they're kind of going kind of lo-fi on this album. There's still one jam, but not many, so it's going to be a lot different than their very early albums, but I still really enjoyed it. Let me know what you guys think of it. Again, one of these kind of controversial albums, but I really enjoyed it, and it's on my list. And finally, to end the video out, we're going to talk about some of my favorite metal hard rock releases of the year. First off, we're going to talk about Judas Priest, Firepower. The metal gods are back. They still sound better than ever. They don't really change their sound that much, but I don't think they really care, and no one's really asking them to. And they kind of use their style, and it comes out with another pretty great album, one that you can enjoy all the way through. There's not really any lulls. Obviously, there shouldn't be in a Judas Priest album, but just really catchy hooks, nice riffs. It's another badass Judas Priest album, and even though it doesn't really change their sound that much or move it forward, you gotta respect it, and for that, I recommend it to you all. Next up is probably my favorite metal release of the year, Queen of Time by Amorphis. The folk metal band are back with another album, about their 13th, I think. Amorphis' style is just so grand. They really make you feel like you're in the middle of some medieval battle, or just surrounded by peasants just back in the medieval times, with the instrumentals that they use and the backup instruments and the everything. Tommy Yurtston's vocals his range is just incredible. The way he can go from beautiful singing to just disgusting gutturals, and how it mashes up with all the instrumentations. It's just unbelievable. One of my favorite metal albums of this year, maybe even last year. Do not miss this if you're into folk metal or any metal. Seriously, go listen to it. Next up, we have Prequelle by Ghost, and I was really hard on this album in the review, but man, I was disappointed at first, but after seeing how much I've been listening to it and kind of going back and realizing that Dance Macabre isn't the worst Ghost song ever released, I can confidently say that I enjoy this album. I still don't think it's their best one, but the amount of playtime that it's gotten from me is just unbelievable. So it's definitely a good album, to say the least. I was probably too harsh on it. I would bump my score up now in hindsight, but it's just a great metal release, one of my favorite of the year. If you've never heard any Ghost songs or albums, check them out. They're one of my favorites, and they're some of the best performing artists in the game right now, so check them out. Next is one of the weirdest albums I've heard in a long time. It's by a Faroese doom metal outfit called Hamferd. I think that's how you pronounce it. But it is, again, doom metal, and it is so strange. They sing in their native island tongue, Faroese. It's a kingdom of Denmark, so it's really strange and incredibly unique. It basically sounds like a vampire crying most of the time, but it was hilarious and enjoyable and just grand doom metal. So if you're into that, this is something to check out. You may not like it, but I wasn't sure I was going to like it at first either, but it kind of grew on me after a while. So check it out. Next, we have the new Vein album, Errorzone. This is a hardcore band in their first album in 2018, and I'm a sucker for hardcore most of the time. I love Code Orange, and this just brings another layer to the sound. Based on the title of their album, Errorzone, you can kind of guess that it's kind of electronic, industrial sounding, hardcore, spazzing, just railing vocals. It's an incredibly short album, but it's so enjoyable. It's one of my favorite albums of the year, one of my favorite metal albums of the year. Check it out if you like hardcore, if you like Code Orange, if you like that genre. The final metal release I'm going to be talking about and final release I'm going to be talking about in general is Desolation by Khemmis. This is another doom metal band. All these doom metal releases this year are so good. But this is the third album by Khemmis, and their first album that the lead singer said that they had a real, figured out sound, and it really comes through on this. It is one of the best metal albums I've heard in a long time. It is just soaring vocals, soaring riffs, nonstop, and the guy sounds great. They even switch it up with this guttural sounding vocals here and there. It's very reminiscent of Ozzy Osbourne. I think that's probably definitely a influence for this album. But do not miss out on this release. It is fantastic. And that's it. These are my mid-year shoutouts for 2018. I'll be coming through with a top 10, top 15 list at the end of this year of my best releases of the year, all thrown together, so they all will clash at the end of the year. But I want to know what you guys thought of all of these albums. Let's get some discussion going in the comments, because music is not considered art if you don't have opinions about it, if you don't have different opinions about it. So I'd love to see your comments down below about all these projects. I want to hear what your lists are, what you guys have in your lists. What are your favorite releases so far in the year? Sorry I sound so sick in this video. I'm getting over something, but once I start uploading consistently, my next review will go up in the next couple of days. We will get this going bi-weekly, so this channel is fully running. It's up and running. It's going. We're going to have a good time. We're going to talk about all the music that we love, and I will be implementing my new rating system, so you'll see that. But that will wrap up this video. I will see you in the next review, which will be soon, thank God. But for now, bye.